it's really cool because when you do that, when you get there, you really can start making without this previous barrier that you had, which is like, now that you've kind of developed the muscle a little bit more, I'm more like, this is the decision because this is the decision that feels good, and I've felt what doesn't feel good. So it's just like, it just becomes a little quicker.
If you're listening to this podcast right now, chances are you and I have a few things in common, one of which might be being a creative. And as a creative, there are some things we can't afford to lose out on, and a very big one is energy. But not just any energy, something clean and natural that doesn't leave you crashed out in the middle of your workday. That is honestly why I use Magic Mind. It's an amazing energy elixir that is about the size of a shot that I take every morning to guarantee that I am fully prepared for my day. It's filled with amazing ingredients like matcha, ashwagandha, and lion's mane to fully support your body throughout whatever your day has to offer. Right now, if you go to magicmind.com/procrastination-radio and use code procrastinator20, you can get up to 56% off your subscription for the next 10 days. That's procrastinator20. You can get 56% off your subscription in the next 10 days. Let's get energized together with Magic Mind. My connection.
It's so funny, bro. We were literally so good the 2 seconds.
I know. And then
as soon as we start recording, bro.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Procrastination Radio Show. I'm your host, Ian Complex, here for another amazing conversation with another very, very, very special guest. Andres, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. I'm doing great. Yeah, just as I'm sure we might talk about it, I'm like, I have a play coming up, so I'm just like worried about that, thinking about that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this conversation for a bunch of reasons. I feel like I've met you a bunch throughout different situations, like just kind of in the scene and different events and stuff, and always really liked how you came off even before knowing what you did. So I want to kind of throw that appreciation out to you for just always being nice and cordial and cool, and the fits were always crazy every single time. So I just wanted to start off by saying that. But
yeah, the fits have to be crazy, bro. It's part of the the lifestyle. I'm just kidding. But thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thanks. But I'm very interested to kind of like kick this off about how you got to this play, and I want to get back into a little bit of who you are and why you do what you do, but I'm very interested into why a play specifically, just kind of based off of what I've seen of your work, usually based in film, and knowing that a lot of things creatively are connected. I'm just very interested in that format of presentation and creativity. Why a play?
Yeah, as far as why a play, I think that there's definitely an overlap between film and theater. I'm learning what that is as I do it, since this is like my first play endeavor in general. So I'll be able to answer, I think, more clearly, like, what are the actual overlaps after I do the real thing, and like, perform it. Like, it's gonna be 5 times, I believe, that same night. It's like a short play within the context of plays. It's like not like similar time spans for a film. Like a short film would be like around 10 to like 30 minutes. Same thing with a play, like a short play. If it gets longer, it's like considered like a feature film, and on the other side, it's like it's the opposite. Like same thing with a play. It's like a long play. Like you might have like an act in the middle, stuff like that. But very literally, I went to a play with my girlfriend in New York, and we went to go see this actor that we really like. His name is Oscar Isaac, and like I'm sure a lot of people know him, and that was one of the reasons why we wanted to go out. But also, I'd never seen like a real proper play before. I've seen like musicals and stuff like that, but I've never seen just like a straight up like dialogue heavy play, and it was really cool. It was really, really a great experience. Like, he kicked ass. He's a like phenomenal actor, so he like really just owned the show the whole time. But what I saw and what I've seen like in other scenarios, and like kind of like the stereotypical like um trope behind plays is that they always have to be kind of like, a lot of fancy speech, and like even this play is kind of modern. It still had like Shakespearean interests, and like it's like all like wordy, in my opinion, for no reason sometimes. And mind you, I've talked to people who are like more in the play world about my experience, and they've said that, like, like if I go to like off Broadway or if I go to other places, I'll be able to see the kind of stuff that I'm talking about and that I'm making. But that being said, I saw that and I was like, I just kind of want to make a play about like two dudes on a couch, just like talking shit for like 30 minutes and just being like real with each other. And that's not exactly what I made. I made something that's actually a little bit more complex, and like there's more set pieces, and they're in a desert the whole time, and it's like a more of an endeavor. But at the end of the day, it's still two dudes, like just under more like intense circumstances, but they're just talking, and like there's a lot of world building going on. But even then, like the two people that I casted, Lazaro and Abby, are like friends of mine, and they both have acting interests, but they're not. I don't think that they would feel comfortable calling themselves like full on actors just yet. So I think that also lends itself to like some just like real performance. It's not like a like, yes, they're playing a character, and yes, like they're studying that character and they're rehearsing with that character and a bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, one of the reasons why I think I picked them is because everything they say is just like still more colloquial and more like, like you're speaking with the homies. And I also wrote for them in a way. Like I kind of like wrote their characters based on who they already are too. um but yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of a long-winded answer,
No,
but
no,
that's
it's
why
the
I'm
yeah,
running a play. Yeah.
perfect format for
Yeah.
for long answers. I was interested from when you started talking about, you're saying that the play is going to be done, I think, 5 times that day. Was that
Yeah.
an intentional approach to it? Was it something, because that's interesting to me immediately, because I'm like, by the fifth time, I'm sure already y'all are practicing, but by the fifth time in different audiences, the play is going to kind of take on a different life of its own in some aspects. And were you aware of that going into that, or did you think about that?
Yeah, like plays in general, like that, I think that is the general interest, and
Yeah.
I think that's what excited me and even the actors is like, okay, we're gonna do this a bunch of times, and it'll be a little different
Yeah.
every time. And I think that's also an exciting part about like as an audience member too, like that you're getting a very specific take at this,
Right.
and like um I'm gonna shoot it like a short film the day before,
Mm.
so there is gonna be like a proper documentation of it, like in my style.
Yeah.
But even that won't be what it is the next day when they're actually performing it. Like each one will be slightly different and will have its own thing. And the film, it'll be like I'm gonna do like a 3 camera setup for the short, so it's gonna be like very manufactured.
Yeah.
So when you're there with the play, you're just like it's like a wide shot.
Right.
Let's say like it's just a wide shot the whole time, and it's you and your eyeballs, and you could choose to look around, you could choose to look at one of them. So there's definitely that excitement of like this is when this ends, it's gone, and like it only is like encapsulated in the memory of the people who saw it. Super interesting to me. But also yeah, no, just like, oh well, I think something else to be said is that originally I was gonna do it like, because the activation is only for that night. Originally I was gonna do it like for like a month long ish, but like for a lot of different reasons we decided like, nah, let's just like make it a one day thing. With when that was gonna be the case, we were maybe gonna do like two a night, because it is a shorter play, so it wouldn't make sense to like build this whole thing up and like set up a whole night to just like a 30-minute interval. But now that it's one night, we're like, okay, like, fuck it, let's hit it home. Let's like run it a bunch of times. Let's really like get as many people in there to be able to see it, because it's like like within the context of plays. I don't think this location is small, but within the context of plays, it is a smaller venue.
Mm.
It's like a 25 seater.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we were like, okay, we're not gonna do this for 50 people to see it. Like we want at least 100 people to try to see this.
Yeah.
So we're running like 4 activations, possible fifth one added depending on ticket sales.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, just it was just like a very like it honestly felt like the only way to do it justice is to like do it that many times.
Yeah. That's really cool. And you mentioned kind of shooting it in your style before. How did you How did you get to your own tone of voice? Because again, to kind of get a tangent on real quick before we get into that, like being able to see your films even before this conversation was really a blessing, and I thank you for putting that together, and inviting me to that. But I love seeing your language and how you kind of express, because it feels really similar to me, and like how you have a conversation with somebody. You know, the words that you choose, kind of speaking in the language of different plays and everything. But how did you find that tone of voice?
You know, I don't know if I found a tone yet.
Mm,
Like like I look at the stuff that I've made, and I still don't see like a very clear through line just yet. You know, like I think that there's a lot of overlapping things, overlapping you know, like angles, like very literally. You know, like I shoot a lot of the stuff with like the same lens that um my one of like my close collaborators, and like the person that shoots a lot of my stuff, his name is Parker Gain. He he like has like this like kit of lenses that I love working with, and also just him as a person has like a really great take on like on my scripts, and he's always like very excited and interested in like in shooting them in a certain direction, and I tend to like lean towards like this really wide lens that he has in his kit, and like, and you know, a lot of people seeing that, like I have a friend, my friend named Juancy, Juan Luis Matos. He was like, you know, like that wideness is theatrical in its own way. Like you kind of want like the audience to like be able to see as much as possible. Like you've probably had like this kind of like little interest of theater already, and I don't know if you said, but one of the shorts that I showed was, it's called Eggs from the Dumbwaiter, and it's pretty much like you know, it's two people in a house talking, like, and a lot, and like especially for when they actually interact, because a big part of it is just the one of the protagonists.
yeah,
It's a really big wide shot,
yeah,
you know. It's like very theatrical in its sense, you know. It's like, and we did it. We actually shot it like that too that day. I was like, all right, we're gonna run this five
yeah.
times. I'm gonna shoot it all on this wide, and then hopefully maybe like later in
Right,
the day we
right.
get some close-ups. But we didn't even. I don't think we had time that day to get close-ups. But yeah, like I was just like me prioritizing the wide shot. I think that's a style on its own. You know, like that's a tonal decision. Is like, okay, I clearly think that's more important than like going into close-ups. Like, you know, if I'm like gonna, like, yeah, I think that's a great example. Like I'm on a limited time span, and my decision making is like, okay, I know I want the wide because it's really important to me. You know, other filmmakers might not do that. You know,
Right,
other
right, right.
filmmakers might be like, nah, like I need the eyes the whole time. Like, you know, which is something that I'm learning more about, and I'm developing. Honestly, like, yeah, I don't know if I can describe my tone just yet. I don't know if I have like a style per se,
Yeah.
but um, I'm also not interested in like necessarily sticking to something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna continue to like go off of gut instinct, and
Yeah.
like later if I see a style, great, you know.
Yeah.
But if not, like there's a bunch of my mentors that don't know that they're my mentors. That if you see like a bunch of their work back to back, you'll be like, you would never guess that it's the same
Yeah.
person that made it, you know.
Yeah. 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 I was reading one of your Instagram posts, and you mentioned that in a similar phrasing. I think you were speaking of a book that you read. You said one of my
Mm.
mentors who isn't my mentors. And
Yeah.
I also really enjoy just in your language how you when you talk about somebody you work with, you take a moment to like say their name. Like I really appreciate that. Like
I think it's like an adjusted practice. Maybe it's like a span of doing it less over time, and then
yeah,
like hearing something back and being like, damn, you know, it's also just like it's really like these people that I'm mentioning, they probably don't even want me to say their names full out, but
yeah,
like it's just like a nice like it's, you know, it's being courteous.
yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, I
yeah,
think
being courteous to like the time they put in.
especially with an art form like this where it's so many hands to make something, and I
Facts.
think especially for you, somebody who's been able to work as a director, an editor, a writer, you've been kind of all over this art form. Do you have any preference to either one? It sounds like you just like being in it,
Hmm.
but is there one that sticks out sometimes?
You know, it's funny. Like, I think that I don't know who said this quote. It might have been like Tarantino. I know there's a bunch of directors that think this, but
Yeah,
um, like each one of those phases in its own way is like it's like you're rewriting the project.
yeah,
You know, like you write the project. You know, then you shoot the project, then you edit the project, then each one feels like um like a way of writing the project in its own way. Like you.
yeah,
So I don't know. I think all of them are special in different ways. As I continue to grow, I see the things that I definitely want to stick
yeah.
to. But like for instance, I love writing, but I've also like encountered books that I'm like, wow, I would love to direct. I would love to adapt this. I would love
Mm,
for someone to adapt this and like
mm,
hand it to me. Like,
mm.
I don't think that I'm like hell bent on any of them. Maybe with the exception of directing, I feel like that's the only one that when I hop into a project, for the most part, like I also produce
Yeah,
for a lot of the friends out here,
yeah.
but like as far as like long term goals, like I think directing is the only one that I just don't want to give up.
Mm,
You know,
mm.
like I don't mind stepping out of the editor's chair
Yeah,
eventually, and I don't mind stepping out of the writer's seat. I think that the directing though is very, it's just very special, and it's like yeah, it's like super, like a lot of people think it's very stressful, and it is for sure, but it's like really gratifying. And yeah, when I was just like in general when it comes to like filmmaking, I went to school like in San Francisco, and went to an art school out there. And the whole time that I was there, like I barely made one movie. I think I made one movie. Like I made my thesis film, and I'm very proud of it. But that was really the only movie that like I left college with, being like, okay, this is like a MOVIE movie, you know. Um, but the rest of the time, I was shooting photographs and like just like kind of doing more like I guess looking back, I guess it was just exploration of like the kind of topics and like and aesthetics that I wanted to like put into video. But um, what it felt like back then was like I just needed like this kind of like more self gratification of like, you know, like the photographer pipeline. Not all of them, but at least the way I was treating the art form is very was very like I would make something, and I was shooting a lot of film, and
yeah,
I would like scan it, and then I would put it up on Instagram,
yeah,
and it was like
yeah,
boom 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 boom, boom. And like and there was definitely like, you know, an immatureness happening there where I just kind of wanted some gratification. Also, I'm glad I did that because there's something very cool about just like giving your work out to the
yeah,
world and just seeing how it
yeah.
goes. But something that like I definitely remember saying is like, okay, I got to stop shooting photos because I really really want like long-term gratification for me, like has really really met long-term projects.
Mm,
Like those
mm.
those two things to me are like go hand in
Yeah,
hand, you know. um yeah, and that's I think why I love filmmaking, because it's like it's just like this thing that you really dedicate a lot of time to, so when you see it come alive,
right,
come to life, it's just like that much more rewarding, you know.
right. How do you
Yeah.
in that way? How do you take in when you're in a theater and it's packed with people who have come to see something that you've made? Does it feel like you're in a place of relaxation, like you said, like I'm done, kind of, I've done it, or does it is it another maybe type of job where you're now answering questions and maybe looking at things a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
more critical as you're watching them and seeing people's reactions? Like how does that feel?
You know, I don't like the screening that you went to was probably, as far as like, you know, 45 minutes plus of like a work that I've made, that's definitely the first time I've ever done that. um I've definitely been in a room like where I show like, you know, at like a film festival or something like that, and like my short is a part of like a short block of other filmmakers. But just speaking specifically to that last one, because it was like very particular and a new thoughts and feelings. um Honestly, I was pretty like relaxed and just like happy that like the things up there I enjoyed. You know, like um I was talking about it with some friends, and like we kind of disagree with this, but like I have some friends that are like, oh, like filmmaking as an art form is very much about the audience. Like
Mm,
you have to really take them into consideration when you're making this thing.
interesting.
And I agree with that
Yeah, yeah,
1000%. You know, if I was gonna make something only for me,
right,
like I probably wouldn't make a movie.
right,
You know,
right,
like
right, right.
it's just like it's like this whole endeavor where you got to convince so many people, and then you're
Yeah,
the only one that's gonna communicate with it
right.
is insane. But like, but I do think that if you don't, if like this is, if you're not making something that you want to see and that you think is missing from the world or whatever, um, then yeah, you probably shouldn't make it, you know, and yeah, almost everything. I think everything actually. Like obviously, you look at stuff and like especially when you see with other people, like other things come up that you're like, oh man, I could change this, I could change that, and like some of the products I showed are actually in earlier stages, so that is more viable. But there's other products that I've been shown so many times, and I'm just like, I know that could be better, but it's okay. Like that one will stay as is, and like, and it is what, and it was what it needed to be at the time for me, and yeah, I think as far as being critical, like I think I've as I've continued to like grow and shit and make more things, I'm becoming less critical,
Mm,
which is good.
yeah.
I think that a lot of people that works opposite for them. I think part of it is also I just trust myself a little bit more. You know, with this play is like the fastest thing I've ever developed
Mm,
as far as like
interesting.
these long term projects
Yeah.
go. You know, it's like I actually legitimately wrote it in one night. Like I smoked some good shit and I
Mm-hmm.
was just up the whole
Yeah.
night and like I don't know what it was,
Yeah.
but like I was it just kind of flowed out of
Yeah.
me and like first draft from like beginning to end. I even made like certain assets that you'll see like in the exhibition of the play. Like I was just really feeling the idea and really trusting myself. You know, I was like everything here it just feels good. Like it feels like like I was like I jog a lot, so I felt like I was jogging. You know, I was just like, boom, boom, boom. Okay, this all makes sense. This all comes two and two, and yeah, and I've talked to other artist friends. Like, I talk. There's I'm actually right now at Ulight Arts. I'm like in their cinematic like editing bay right now. Just like I work with them sometimes, and that's just where it ended up having the interview for some reason. But there's this artist, her painter here. Her name is Alan Morris, and she's like a phenomenal painter. But like we were talking about, like this achieving of like trusting yourself is like it's really cool because when you do that, when you get there, like you really can start like making without this like previous barrier that you had, you know, which is like before not only were you trying to make a movie in my case, not only were you trying to make a movie, but you were also like trying to decide amongst all of the different interests that you have in the filmmaking world and being like, is this film going to look like this? Is this film going to look like this? Now that you've kind of have like, you've kind of like developed the muscle a little bit more, I'm more like, okay, like I, this is the decision because this is the decision that feels good. And I've felt what doesn't feel good. So, you know, it's just like, it's like, it just becomes a little quicker and I'm excited, honestly. I think I've been really wanting to get to this place for a very long time. And like, I hopefully like I can stay consistent with it like over the next few years. But yeah, I'm like yeah, I feel like, and many artists probably have been craving this
Yeah.
or are craving
Yeah.
this. But now that I've got into this space, I feel like yeah, like I don't feel like a fraud calling myself like an artist now. You know, I don't feel like a
Mm,
fraud calling myself a filmmaker.
yeah.
Now it's like I can fully believe it, and when I say it, I don't flinch. You know.
That's wow. I
Yeah,
like that. That's really
yeah.
cool. As like as a storyteller, I wonder kind of in that way of being less critical and kind of sitting in who you are. What attracts you to even in just like a it's a late Thursday night, you want to watch something. Like what about a story attracts you to it?
That's a good question, man. Definitely, I definitely consume a lot, and like maybe it's something that later in my life I decrease, you know. But right now, like I'm like um I'm like a media addict. Like I love art in general, but I really love like the moving image, like TV, like animated stuff, like anime, like um what's it called, movies, short films. Like I really just love consuming as much as possible. Obviously, there's things that I'm like, no, you know, because like I've also consumed enough that I also know like when things like
Right.
when it smells like shit, probably it might be
Right,
shit, you
right,
know.
right, right, right.
But even then, I try to still watch a lot of things that like not to say that these things are shit, but like I've seen I've seen almost every Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
know, I've seen like like not, and like I said, not shit. I actually think a lot of them have a lot of creative merit,
Yeah.
but like it's just like what amongst like the film community people like
Right.
think is like less
Right.
like artful or
Right.
whatever. But I love all that shit. I love world building a lot. I
Mm.
think that's something. If I'm gonna be putting stuff on top, like if like a film, TV show, or anything like is really like just taking me to another place, and just like the details are just like you could tell everything is aligned. Like if you see a poster, like the poster is like in reference to like a line that was said earlier, like that kind of stuff. Like that kind of stuff, like just gets the right itch. I don't know what it is, but like um, I'm not a big fan of like reality TV. Like it's hard for me to do it. And I've tried too, but like it's not even that like I was like, oh fuck reality TV, like not on some pretentious shit. It just actually makes me sad. Like it makes me depressed for some reason. Like I just like I watch it and I'm like, man, like I get it. It's
Yeah.
like cultural. It's culturally important.
Right. Right.
Funny enough,
Right.
like I think like yeah, the only one that I could maybe get away with once in a while is like sometimes like my girl puts the Kardashians on, and
Mm.
like I find myself like actually like
Interested.
really paying
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
But I think for a bunch of different reasons, like just like the cultural importance
Yeah.
that like that family
Right.
holds on the world is just super fucking interesting.
Right.
But um, but yeah, man, I would say like if I were to put something that really gets me every time is like when like something just like brings me in. And like TV shows have more time to do that, so it's very exciting when they do it. But it's very, very exciting to me when a movie can do it, because like it's just like it's less time,
Yeah.
and if to do it successfully is tough. So yeah,
Yeah.
world building,
That
definitely a fan.
reminded me of like Nathan Fielder and a lot of the kind of weird space that parody sits in when approaching a lot of these things. Like a lot of like Nathan For You. I'm not sure if you've seen it,
Mm.
but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I
like
I I like Nathan for you.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of my favorite kind of not even commentaries, but just kind of pieces of art that kind of play with that what is real, what isn't, what's written, what isn't. I feel like from a younger age, it was kind of hard to differentiate, even with like the Eric Andre show, or like Tim and Eric, kind of those a lot of similar shows from a lot of similar like schools of comedy in these different places. But it begs the question for you, like, do you ever see yourself playing in other fields like comedy or even an action movie? Like, would you ever think of doing
Mm.
at a later point, like if Marvel approached you like, hey, we got $17 billion for you, like
Yeah, yeah, no,
go
definitely,
crazy.
man. I
Yeah.
say it all the time. Like the goal, like in its own weird way, is like I'm trying to direct a Marvel movie, one
Yeah.
thousand
Yeah.
percent. That'd be awesome. Yeah, man, it's like being a tool in like this like huge world building thing. Like like I would hope that I would get a lot of creative liberty, because I also do think that I would have a very fresh and interesting perspective in something like a superhero movie. Um, but yeah, no, I'm a yeah, I'm a big fan of like of genre hopping. I guess it's what we can call it that. Like yeah, and especially at this point where I'm still trying to figure out like what it is. Like right now I'm making a bunch of like short things, and I've written a feature before that I really like. But I haven't made it yet, obviously, and yeah, I'm still not sure what it is that I want to make an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
Like I think right now I'm still like very interested, and not even on some like I think it's first steps. I actually see myself later in life, like even after I've made longer things, going back to like the short form world that is like short films. Like I think it's a lot of stories just have to be shorter. Like they're meant to be shorter. Um, but yeah, I'm totally for like genre hopping and finding different spaces to like say stories. Like I love all those films. I love comedy. I really like
Yeah.
horror. I really love like something, especially something like Nathan For You, and then like the show that he did with Safdie, like The
Yeah.
Curse, is
Yeah.
like it's really great. I think it's like it's mad innovative, and like I'm never angry with innovation. I think that's
Mm.
like yeah, stuff that has people like sitting down just being like, what did I just watch,
Yeah.
is like I don't know if that's what I'm gonna end up making with
Yeah.
my like out of the stuff I make,
Yeah.
but it's definitely like so important.
Yeah. That's a great tie into your experience with like Sundance recently, and um
Mm.
kind of very very literally, like, what did you watch there, and what was your takeaway, and kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
just that's a big that even the name holds a lot of weight. So how did it feel being able to move around inside of the idea of what Sundance is?
definitely. So I went to Sundance with this program called well, there's this program in, I think it's a national program actually. It's called YoungArts, and it's like something that like you can apply to when you're like in high school, and then like after that you become an alumni of that program, and then in that alumni standing they have like a bunch of different opportunities that people could apply to, being an alumni. And one of the things that they put up was like this program to go to Sundance and like basically like audit the Ignite program, which is like this specific program at Sundance where like they help like emerging filmmakers like for a whole year or whatever. So like in our case, we just go and like we basically have like all the perks that the Ignite kids would have essentially, and in that in those perks, like they give us a bunch of like free tickets to go watch, and like Young Arts themselves like put us
Yeah.
up, and like it's great. It's like a really it was a really really formative and great experience. And like like I'm sure a lot of filmmakers are like there's like some skeptics when it comes to like these like independent film
Mm-hmm.
festivals, because
Mm-hmm.
like they're so fucking big now that
Right.
it's like
Right.
how do you truly like like remain independent
Yeah.
when you have like all these stars and
Right.
like and 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 that was there. The stars and like and all that stuff was there, and I'm a geek for all that stuff, so that was
Mm-hmm.
really exciting for me as
Yeah.
well. Um, but as far as, to me, like independent means like obviously like less money,
Right.
new authors, like new authors or
Yeah.
whatever, um, and innovative storytelling, and I saw that like amongst a few projects actually. Like there's three very specifically that I think had all those out, like all those
Yeah.
standings. There's one called Little Death, which is like by this filmmaker. I don't want to get Jack Beggar,
Yeah.
and he's like a music video dude. And it's funny. I just saw the Rotten Tomato score, and it's super low, and I
Yeah.
totally disagree with that. And it's like yeah, it was a very like very crazy story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like crazy. It was a very crazy story, and then the way they treated the arc was super new. Like what happens at 30 minutes is not what you would expect, and then the rest of the film
Mm.
is something else.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was a very well done approach to like really teasing what the arc should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that kind of stuff. And then I saw this other movie called In a Violent Nature, which is like it's like a slasher
Mm-hmm.
film, but um it's there's just a director. His name is Gus Van Sant, and he has like a few films of his that he just kind of like follows people
Mm.
from the back. Like it's almost like third person, like video game
Mm.
style, but like much more cinematic
Yeah.
and quote more probably more boring than a video game. And it's just like it's slow. I think it's beautiful, but
Yeah.
it's really slow.
Yeah.
And like these guys kind of brought that into a slasher film, which is like
That's cool.
weird,
Yeah.
like it starts and you're just following like the killer the whole time,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
it's brilliant because like you start seeing the killer the whole film, and
Mm-hmm.
then when you don't see him, like your brain is like, damn, like I've seen what this guy is capable of,
Right.
and now I don't know where he is.
Right. Right. Right.
Like,
Right.
and it's like I thought it was like, and it's also one of the most beautifully shot slasher films I think ever. Honestly, I was like taken aback.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it was beautiful. And then I saw this other movie called Sasquatch Sunset that
Ah, I
like
heard about that.
yeah, it was such a super bizarre
Yeah.
film. It was I wasn't even planning on going to see it, but one of like the people that I went to Sundance with that was in the program, his name is Nathan Ginter. He was like a great filmmaker, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna go watch this movie called Sasquatch Sunset. Like the reviews are like, wow, that I think it's gonna be a weird one. And like the review that I read was like, if you want to see Sasquatch, if you want to see people dressed as Sasquatch, pissing, shitting, fucking, and squirting milk out of their tits for the next hour and a half, this is the movie for you. And I was like, well, shit, I think that might be the movie
Right.
for me, then
Right.
maybe. I don't know. Like, I
The
don't know.
target
I don't know why,
audience.
but yeah, and like, and mind you, it definitely had that,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and it was a weird movie, and it was like Jesse Eisenberg and a few other big name
Yeah.
actors in full Sasquatch
Right.
attire
Right.
and
Right.
like and makeup, and they look like full on Neanderthals, and like they don't say one piece of dialogue the whole
Oh
movie.
wow.
They're just like and eyeing at each other and being Neanderthals and being Sasquatch like, I guess. And for some reason, like 25 minutes in, I'm like emotionally attached to these characters. Like I just cared so much about what's gonna happen, and like, and mind you, like some crazy plot points happen that do leave you like, oh, like I cannot believe that it just happened, you know. and and yeah, like I was very pleasantly surprised going to Sundance and like and seeing these kind of movies there, because I was like, you know, at I all these films had their big actors in them, and you know it still holds weight. You can't get mad at that. Like people like seeing people they've seen, you know. But it's still all, at least these three that I just mentioned, all just felt like mad innovative, and it felt like the story, like what the story is still getting like messed with and celebrated, you know, at a place like this,
Right.
which is great.
Yeah.
You know, like it makes me excited about movies, and it makes me excited about like institutions like this, and it gives me, and it reminds me maybe why they're around. I
Yeah.
think it's something that like, you know, like it's hard to it's hard to, especially as artists, to like to reason with like, why is there the Grammys, and
Right.
why is
Right.
there
Right.
the Oscars, and why is there Sundance, and why is there all these institutions that like give stamps of
Yeah.
approval. And I don't know about award shows, but I do think as far as like this film festival and like other ones that I've been to, um, there's something there's something beautiful about like being able to create little bridges
Right.
for like younger filmmakers, slightly more established
Yeah.
filmmakers, people who want to buy these things. Like, and some film festivals claim that and really don't do that. I will say my experience at Sundance, and it helped that I was in this program, because the woman that kind of like runs the program as far, or is like on the ground there with
Yeah.
us, is also a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Her name is Kimberly Browning, and like she really cares about us and the program, and like really introducing us and like putting us in the correct
Yeah.
spaces. But even beyond that, like I find myself being in a lot of scenarios, maybe slightly outside of that program, where I was like, oh no, this is an extremely useful conversation right now. Like this is an extremely beneficial room that I'm in, you know? So that was a very pleasant surprise, you know, because like you hear a lot of these, like a lot of things about film festivals, like I've my friends that are way more involved in like the festival circuits and have like been able to like attend more of them
Yeah.
through different projects, have said that there are some that they feel like they didn't even win anything.
Yeah.
You know, like there are some that they're like we're here with like a whole feature
Right.
film,
Right.
and we like have not been invited to like any sort of social gathering.
Yeah.
Like some of them don't, like some film festivals, they don't even like set it up so that they can go to like the opening parties and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, dude, you're there with this.
Right.
Anyways, but yeah, I was very um pleasantly surprised with Sundance, and like I'm itching to go back with the project for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Like to echo your point about, I guess the importance of putting a bunch of creative people together. Like
Yeah.
it's very. I feel like it's an underrated feeling. I think a lot of times people try to contextualize it, like this is a party or this is a even a social. But I think sometimes, like you said, like if it's just like a panel that is varied people of experience and varied people of entry to certain industry, um,
Mm-hmm.
just sharing knowledge and having conversation, I think has been like really beneficial to me. I think even being able to go to things and just to like just to meet people like kind of like I met you, but just like not even knowing what they do specifically, but having conversation and just engaging in that kind of creative connection that people share. And I think it was interesting kind of seeing a lot of the movies that have recently come out, like Iron Claw and um,
Yeah.
just some other features recently. I feel like there's been a interesting influx in the conversation of what like good film
Oh, yeah.
is on that level of just kind of a lot of, like you said, the Rotten Tomato thing comes into play a lot, like and that holds a lot of merit for a lot of people. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it was cool seeing a lot of people like going like, I went to this movie because of word of mouth and like, really emotional. I liked it, I didn't like it, but like we're talking about it, you know. And I like the idea of just conversation about the arts and
De-
and having it move in that direction.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of great projects this year, and like like across the last. I think I saw like People are talking about it right now, but Poor Things
Mm.
by Yorgos.
Yeah.
It was a crazy movie,
Mm.
and like also just very surprised and pleasantly surprised that like a lot of people who maybe like aren't like film buffs or whatever also really liked
Right.
it because it's a
Right.
weird one. It's a weird
Yeah.
movie and it's shot weird and
Yeah.
it's like very risky, I would say, and like and yeah, it's one of those other things like people are actually I think and people especially people with money and financier people, I think that they still haven't gotten whim of
Yeah.
this. A lot of them have, I'm sure, but um, people are hungry for like weird, different stuff right now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like The Cursed being a
Right.
successful show is wild.
Right.
That show is so weird. You know, Poor Things so weird. There's a bunch of stuff out there that like yeah, I think yeah, I think people are really interested in like in seeing just like something that they've never seen before and
Yeah.
experiencing like things that they've never seen before and it also helps that people are going back to the theater and
Right.
just like are craving new stories and like yeah I have like a group chat with a bunch of people that I was kind of invited to actually. I was a late addition to this
Yeah.
group chat,
Yeah.
but like we go to like AMC, like we have it's called AMC Tuesdays or whatever, and
Yeah.
like we go watch movies really often and like and it's dope. It's good. It's great seeing it with these friends of ours because they're not like even like super film buffs. Like
Yeah.
some of them are,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like credit to them. Like, but like a lot of them are. You know, a lot of them
Right.
are just like, oh yeah, let's go watch this movie, and then you know we watch something like Poor Things or something like Iron Claw, and it's
Yeah.
like these movies that are like, yeah, I think they're fresh and they're new and they're like they're really I think they're really important
Yeah.
too. To be honest with you, I think I I I could only hope that as like a culture and a society, like we continue to um place the bar of taste higher and
Yeah.
higher
Yeah.
because yeah as creatives like we deserve not only do we deserve but we're like our duty is to make things that are like that are different
Right.
and that put people in spaces that
Right.
they haven't been before
Right.
and when people are craving that it's like you know like all right I'll make the food as long as you eat
Yeah.
it you know.
Yeah. 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 No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also super refreshing because I think the conversation around film for a while was a lot of the kind of tenured directors talking about the I think people were saying like the roller coaster effect of a lot of the Marvel movies and DC and all these action films. And I think at a point it was not a balanced scale in terms of like you did have the indies and you did have movies that
Hmm.
were just even further away from that kind of existed in kind of folklore um and
Hmm.
then you had your blockbusters and your kind of different separations, your TV movies and all these things. And I feel like because of, for better or for worse, how streaming ended up panning out and like the current separation of everything, I think a lot of those feelings are back as it kind of felt like it was one thing at a time.
Mm.
And
Okay, what you're saying.
yeah,
Hmm.
and you did mention that you kind of watch a lot of those things. So is there a type of film that's like a guilty pleasure for you that you go to when you're like I want to kind of like nerd out on the technicality of a film? Yeah, yeah. Like do you go to more of a okay, I'm watching a movie if I want to just relax or like I'm going to watch something that's going to have me laughing.
Hmm. Definitely. Yeah, man. No, I think the I would say for me like guilty pleasures are like animes for some reason. Like I love animes and some of them are so well done. But a lot of them are like, you know, very formulaic. Like it's like, okay, like there's a school, there's a some sort of big issue where like they have to train at the school
Yeah.
to you know
Yeah.
figure out
Yeah.
the issue. Like you know they have formulas to it.
Right.
But yeah, I eat them up and I love a lot of them. You know
Yeah.
like and they're easy to consume too. So I also work a lot while I watch things.
Mm.
So like it helps that I can watch something that's not asking for so much of my attention. You
Right,
know
right,
like I can
right.
look back up and be like, all right, cool, yeah, I know what's probably gonna happen.
Yeah.
you know next.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then there's movies that I go back to all the time. Like I really love School of Rock, and I wouldn't even call that one a guilty pleasure. I think that's just a flat out a great fucking movie. But 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 yeah, I would say like if there's anything that's like quote unquote more guilty, like sometimes I'm watching, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm really giving like a lot of time to this is more on animes, only because some of them are just like so just flat out like ridiculous, and either ridiculous or just like straight like there's a formula here and we can see it, we can
Right,
smell it
right,
from a
right.
mile away,
Yeah,
which is like, and very kiddie,
yeah,
sometimes it's
yeah,
like very like animated and dumb,
yeah,
and yeah, I think yeah, and even then, like I said, I still respect all those things a lot, and I think they're very hard to create.
yeah,
So, and I also love the culture behind anime and like Japanese culture in
yeah,
general, and like their art is fucking super inspirational to me. I
yeah,
don't know if I can see it directly in my work yet, but it's definitely something I think about a lot, and like Studio Ghibli movies and like Miyazaki, and
right.
yeah, that's I go to sleep with like the Studio Ghibli movies all the time just because they're so like, I don't know, even though it's like a whole movie about war
Yeah.
usually, I still like I still resonate so comfortably, and the animation and the score and everything is like so comforting that it doesn't matter if there's like a whole war happening on it.
Before we close out, I just want to ask a couple more questions. One about like the importance of sound, and just curious about how you approach that part with the play, quite literally, writing and kind of do you visualize how the words will come out and kind of hit people's ears, and then in the film landscape with music, how do you intentionally incorporate that stuff into your work?
Yeah, I'm a big. I think music is actually a very big part of the process for me. I like for every product that I have, there's like a playlist that it, that I develop as I'm working on it. The Impotent Desert, which is the play, like same no same thing there. Like there's like this, and also a lot of the times there's like specific songs that um are very important, like narratively as well. Um, you know, I there's some movies like for instance like I think I mentioned it, like I've written I already wrote like hope what is hopefully going to be the first feature film that I direct, and that one is like very musically guided. Like there's like certain songs that come out in certain parts, and like and it's yeah, I'm a big I have a big like marriage to music when it comes to like my process of like writing and just making in general. Yeah, and it helps so much. Like the playlist thing helps a lot because sometimes if I just really want to just like switch it on, let's say like I'm like, okay, cool, I gotta work. Like I haven't been able to write in like a few days or whatever. I'm gonna sit down and write in 2 hours for 2 hours. I mean, like it's hard sometimes to like kind of plug in and just be like, all right, be creative. So the music really helps honestly, because like it does like all those like subconscious reminders of like why you chose that song, what you were feeling when you chose that song, like why these songs are incorporated in the play, and like how sometimes it's literally like um oh, like during this part of the play, like something like this should be playing here, or sometimes it's like oh man, the feeling of that song is kind of like the feeling that I want the dialogue to kind of give off during this part. So yeah, I'd say it's like really really important, and in the play there's even like a theme, kind of like I would call it like a theme song that happens in the play, and yeah, it's like it's luckily not something that I have to license because it's a play. So
Yeah,
I can just do it and it remains in the ether. But maybe when I
yeah,
put the short film out, I'm gonna have to worry about that a little bit more. Or
yeah,
like
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, licensing for music is interesting for films, but I've done it before though. It's not as difficult as one would think actually. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. And this episode should be coming out before the 17th. So
Oh, cool.
if you were able to give somebody maybe like a one sentence lead in to the play, what would that be?
One sentence leading, like a little log line. I would say it's definitely, I think very literally, it's actually two dudes stranded in the desert, and there's gonna be a lot of walking.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of walking, and like, and yeah, I think that's definitely the leading line, but a little bit
yeah,
beyond that, it's like I don't know why I've been concerned with this so much, but like impotency as like a general term, not just literally
Yeah.
like being sexually impotent, but like as a
Right. Right. Right.
term, kind of like took its own like and and became so much more in this play.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I named the Impotent Desert, because it's like there's a lot of elements in the play that if you like really pay attention are just impotent objects. And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of hit it home too with the exhibition. Like there's like the impotent objects are also there, and they're like I created like physical representations of them. um but yeah, I'm excited for people to be able to reinterpret what I'm putting out, because
Yeah.
like I think most great artists, or at least the art that I'm trying to put out in the world, it's pretty subjective probably,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of ways to interpret. Some of them are much more literal, like okay, these two dudes are stuck in a desert and they're thirsty. and
Yeah.
then and then other things are much less literal, like I've shown people the script and they talk about how like impotency for them right now and like the state of the world feels like not being able to do anything about things
Yeah.
that we're consuming all the time, like what's happening like in Gaza and like what's happening in all
Right.
these like all over the fucking world. And it's like we have so much um immediacy to be able to see exactly what's happening and still not
Yeah.
being able to do anything about it is like it's crazy. And that's a take, I don't it wasn't the take that I've um not purposely, because I don't know what purpose. I think that's purpose is subjective, but it wasn't what I
Mm.
was like specifically thinking about when I was writing. I
Yeah.
wasn't. It's I am a human on this earth, so I could only expect that the work and the art that I make in one way or another is representative of the world that I occupy, and the world that
Yeah.
I'm consuming. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think it'll be a fun one though. I think I'm just excited to like see people see it and like
Yeah.
and there's something honestly a little bit more liberating about a play that's like yes, I got everybody here and I got all the elements here and I directed it to an extent, but at the end of the day it's like it's more of an actor's medium, I would say. I heard someone say this
Mm.
the other day, and maybe that's what I'm saying right now, but it feels like a play is like an actor's medium and a film is the director's medium. Like
Mm.
they're the ones that really see it
Yeah.
through all the way, but with
Yeah.
plays it's like once like that curtain, there's no curtain in this
Right.
context, but once that door opens and they're there, like they can do whatever the fuck they want. Like they
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
ahead and do
Literally. Yeah.
whatever they want, and I can't stop them. Like
Right.
with a film, it's like I'm gonna if I don't like it, I'm gonna edit it.
Yeah. Cut it out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's true.
yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
been good. It's been very liberating and also a teaching experience to like let go, because it feels like that's kind of what it is. It's like it is an act of letting go. Like once you start saying those lines, like well, in rehearsal, I can cut them off and be like, maybe like that. But
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not gonna do that when there's a live audience, obviously.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm excited to let go. Yeah.
That was beautifully put. Thank you for coming on to the show today. Um, if you have time, everybody, please go check out the play. If you have the time, if you don't make the time, go out and support local art. And yeah, thank you everybody for listening. If you are is in daytime, nighttime, wherever you are, stop procrastinating. Go after your dreams. They're waiting for you. Peace out. Peace out.
Facts.